question leaves a trail. Every story hides a clue. Truth is waiting in the silence. Come take the dive, I'll walk with you. Maine Mirror, where truth comes into view.
Imagine finding out your town has an extra $2.9 million just sitting in the bank.
Yeah, that's a massive number.
Right. And imagine finding that out right at the exact moment they decide to raise your property taxes.
Oh, that is a recipe for absolute chaos.
It really is. I mean, if you're paying property taxes right now, you've probably wondered where the money actually goes. So, welcome to our deep dive. Today, we're looking at what happens when 276 angry citizens try to legally hijack a town's checkbook.
And the massive legal wall they run into when they try to do it. It is a fascinating collision of, local democracy, state law, and basic accounting.
Yeah, and to get into this, we are looking at a very specific, incredibly revealing stack of sources centered on the town of Belgrade, Maine.
Right. We have a recent news article that's titled Belgrade Audit Presentation Offers Clarity. And we're also dissecting a really dense, 40-plus page Board of Select Persons meeting agenda packet from July 7, 2026.
Which sounds dry, but our mission today is to decode the hidden, often misunderstood complexities of running a small town.
Exactly. Because it's never just about the math.
No, it's about how millions of dollars are managed, what happens when citizens revolt against town reserve funds, and how the incredibly mundane details of winter road sand and shared recreation vans perfectly illustrate the reality of local governance.
And we should say right up front, while this is all unfolding in one specific town in Maine, the mechanics of municipal finance, the legal red tape, all of that it applies directly to wherever you live and pay taxes.
Because the tension between taxpayers, local boards, and state law, that is just a universal ecosystem.
It really is. And in Belgrade, you just can't understand the citizen revolt until you understand the town's bank account.
So let's start there. Let's look at the 2025 audit. This was prepared by the accounting firm Runyon Kirstein Ouellette.
Or RKO, for short.
Right, RKO. And it was presented by their auditor, Jennifer Connors. The headline number here is that the PAN received an unmodified opinion.
Which is great. That means the math is accurate, everything's completely above board.
But wait, if it's a completely clean audit, why did the auditors flag material weaknesses and significant deficiencies in the town's internal controls?
Yeah, that sounds scary to a lot of people.
It does. They specifically call out payroll, bank reconciliations, and something called a lack of segregation of duties, which sounds bad.
It sounds like fraud, but that phrase segregation of duties, it's critical because it paints a very realistic picture of what a small town office actually looks like.
Oh, really? So it's not someone stealing money?
No, not at all. It's an acknowledgement of staffing reality. Like, in a massive corporation, the person who receives a cash payment is never the same person who logs it into the accounting software.
Right, that makes sense.
And neither of them is the person who drives it to the bank. The duties are segregated. But in a small town office...
There's probably only like 2 people working there.
Exactly. The person writing the check might also be the person reconciling the bank statement simply because they're the only ones in the building. It's a structural vulnerability, sure, but not a math error.
Okay, so the math is accurate, but the final numbers are what seem to be driving the public completely crazy.
Oh, yeah. The optics are tough.
Because the audit shows that as of December 31st, 2025, the town has approximately $8.1 million in total governmental funds. But the unassigned general fund balance is only listed as $2,995,328.
Right, and that distinction is huge.
I need to unpack this because I was thinking about it, and it's like opening your banking app and seeing an $8,100 balance.
Which feels great.
It feels amazing.
Yeah.
But then you realize $5,100 of that is legally locked in a retirement account or, already auto-drafted for your mortgage.
Yeah.
So you really only have $3,000 of unassigned cash to actually spend at the grocery store.
That is the perfect analogy. And this is exactly where public discourse usually derails. People see the 8.1 million total and assume the town is just hoarding cash in a vault somewhere.
Right. They see the big number and get mad.
Exactly. But municipal funds are rigidly categorized. You have non-spendable funds, which is exactly what it sounds like. Money tied up in physical assets or inventory that you literally cannot liquidate.
Like what? What's an example?
Like cemetery plots. You can't just sell those off to pay for road repair.
Oh, wow. Yeah, okay.
Then you have committed funds, which means the voters legally lock that money in a metaphorical safe for a specific future project, like a fire station expansion.
Okay, so what about assigned funds? Because the audit mentions those too. How is that different from committed?
Think of assigned funds as cash with a sticky note on it.
A sticky note.
Yeah, like the town manager or the select board intends to use it for a new roof, but it hasn't been legally locked down by a formal voter mandate yet.
Got it. So it's earmarked but not set in stone.
Exactly. And finally, you get to the unassigned balance, that $2.99 million. That is the pure, unencumbered, free cash. It's the only part not restricted or designated for a specific purpose.
But, I mean, 2.99 million of pure free cash is still a massive number. The audit points out it represents over 21% of the town's annual expenditures.
Which is a very healthy buffer.
But why does a town need a checking account buffer that equals a fifth of its entire yearly budget? Like, how did it even get that big?
Well, it grew because of a perfect storm, really.
Mhm.
Revenues came in hot and expenditures ran cool.
Okay, break that down for me.
So property tax collections came in higher than projected. They also saw higher than expected charges for services, things like building permits, recreation programs. Plus, they got greater interest earnings on their accounts.
Right, with interest rates being what they are.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And at the exact same time, the town spent less than expected on public works, general government, and debt service.
I mean, I can completely understand why a local taxpayer staring at a nearly $3 million cash pile feels frustrated when their property tax bill arrives in the mail,
Oh, absolutely.
especially because it was a jump, right? From an unassigned balance of 16% in 2024 to over 21% in 2025. That looks terrible on paper if you're the one footing the bill.
It does look drastic if you isolate that single year. But this is where the mechanism of auditing requires a wider lens.
What do you mean?
If you pull back and look at the 5-year trend data that RKO provided, the narrative flips completely.
Really? How so?
In 2021, that unassigned balance wasn't 21%, it was 34%.
Wait, 34%?
Yeah, and in 2022, it was over 33%. So the town has actually been drawing that surplus down significantly over half a decade.
Okay, that is fascinating context. But, you know, a 5-year trend line doesn't pay a taxpayer's grocery bill today.
No, it does not.
And that frustration clearly boiled over. Because a group of taxpayers mobilized and gathered 276 signatures from registered voters to force consideration of a new municipal ordinance.
Yeah, and they only needed 197, so they easily cleared that hurdle.
Right. And this petition, it's not just a polite request, is it?
Not at all. It is an aggressive attempt to place a hard legal leash on how the town handles its money.
Like they are demanding a cap on property tax increases, right? Attempting to tie them strictly to the consumer price index.
Unless a larger increase is specifically approved by voters in a general election, yeah.
Okay, just to make sure we're totally clear on the terminology here, when they talk about capping property tax increases, they are targeting the tax levy, right?
Correct. It's a tax levy.
And the tax levy is simply the total amount of money the town demands from all property owners combined to cover whatever the budget shortfall is for the year.
Exactly. The town figures out how much it needs to operate, then it subtracts the revenue it makes from things like permit fees or state aid.
Right.
And whatever deficit is left over becomes the tax levy. That amount is then divided up among property owners based on their home's value.
So the citizens want to cap how much that total levy can grow year over year.
Right, but they don't stop there.
No, they really don't. The petition also mandates a 30-day public notice before any vote on town affairs where spending proposals are included.
And they want exact details, detailing the percentage increase in property taxes caused by the spending, exactly why the funds are needed, and how much unencumbered surplus money the town is holding.
Which, using our earlier definition, is just the cash sitting there without a sticky note dedicating it to a project.
Exactly. They also want to mandate that the reserve account itself be legally capped at 15% of those unencumbered surplus funds.
But the most aggressive mechanism in this petition, and this is the one that sets off a massive legal alarm, is a requirement that all spending proposals over $175,000 must be decided by a secret printed ballot during general elections.
Yeah, that's the part that really throws a wrench in the gears.
Well, wait, if the town has the surplus money and democracy is fundamentally about the voice of the people, why shouldn't 276 voters just be allowed to cap it?
It seems logical, right?
Yeah. I mean, if they get the signatures and they win the vote, why does a state law from Augusta get to overrule local taxpayers who are just trying to manage their own town's checkbook?
Well, it comes down to how municipal authority actually works in the United States. It's a concept often referred to in legal circles as Dillon's rule.
Dillon's rule.
Yeah. Basically, a town or a city doesn't have inherent sovereign power. A municipality is legally just a subunit, like a creation of the state.
Okay.
Therefore, a town only has the specific powers that the state explicitly grants it. Local democracy always has a ceiling, and that ceiling is state statute.
So you can't just vote to do whatever you want.
Exactly. And anticipating this exact friction, Belgrade sought outside counsel from an attorney, Grady Burns, at the law firm Bernstein Shur.
Right, and his legal opinion basically drops his concrete barrier right in front of the petition.
It really does. He points directly to Title 30A of the Maine Revised Statutes, Section 2528.
Okay, and what does that say?
This state law dictates that a mandate for secret, all referendum voting on financial matters, is legally binding only if it's imposed by a municipal charter.
But Belgrade operates under a traditional town meeting form of government. They don't even have a municipal charter that authorizes this specific mandate.
Exactly. So under state law, the municipal officers, meaning the select board, they retain the absolute discretion to choose the method of voting for town meeting matters.
So a local citizen petition cannot legally overwrite Section 2528 of the state code.
Right. You just can't vote away state law.
So the town's lawyers are essentially advising the board that they don't even have to put this on the ballot, like even with 276 valid signatures.
Yes. The attorney advises that if the select board determines the proposed article conflicts with state law, they have the right to, quote, reasonably refuse to put it on the election warrant.
Reasonably refuse. Wow.
The logic is that a town government cannot be forced by its citizens to authorize any legal action.
But if the board refuses, the petitioners could just drag the town into court.
Right. Oh, absolutely. Or the board could let it go to the voters, and if it passes, the town could just decline to implement the parts that conflict with state law.
Which would also probably trigger a massive lawsuit.
Yeah, it is a messy, deeply uncomfortable situation. It really reveals the hard limits of grassroots activism.
I mean, passion and signatures are incredibly powerful, but if you don't understand the mechanisms of state municipal frameworks, your petition will just crash into a wall of legal statutes.
You have to know the rules of the game you're playing.
So citizens are trying to legally freeze the town's bank accounts, but the fundamental problem here is that the town's actual expenses aren't frozen.
Not at all.
While lawyers debate Title 30A and reserve caps, the physical town itself still needs to function. Like, the grass still grows, the snow still falls, and equipment still breaks.
Right. Day-to-day operations don't stop for petitions.
Exactly. Let's look at the actual purchases in this agenda packet, starting with a request from the Facility Maintenance Department. They need a new truck.
A very specific truck, actually.
Yeah, specifically a Ford F-350 Crew Cab 4x4 from Bozard Ford. The quote is for $72,228.50.
That's a hefty price tag.
It is. How is the town justifying dropping $72,000 on a truck right in the middle of a massive taxpayer revolt over spending?
Well, because of where the money is coming from. They aren't pulling this from the general fund, and they aren't spiking this year's tax levy to pay for it.
Oh, they're not.
No. They are purchasing it using an existing facility's truck reserve balance, which currently sits at $100,676.50.
Which completely validates the philosophy of having dedicated reserve funds in the first place.
Yes, it is the absolute counter-argument to the citizens who want to heavily cap those reserves.
Right, because heavy equipment has a finite lifespan.
Exactly. If a town caps its reserves at 15% and a critical piece of infrastructure dies, they don't have the savings built up to replace it.
So they would be forced to suddenly spike that year's tax levy by $72,000 just to buy a single truck.
Which would infuriate everyone. By saving gradually over time into a committed reserve fund, they smooth out those massive capital expenses so the taxpayers don't feel the sudden shock.
Makes total sense. I mean, you can petition and write ordinances all day long, but winter is still coming to Maine.
And winter is expensive.
Very.
Yeah.
The packet includes bids for winter sand and salt. The town needs up to 6,500 yards of winter road sand, and they screen and mix it into 5,000 yards of mixed material for the shed.
Right, the usual winter prep.
And the winning bid from Jason Stevens Excavation is $17.75 per yard. The town manager's memo notes that the previous year's bid was $15.95 per yard.
Okay, so a bit of an increase.
Yeah, I mean, on the surface, a jump from $15 to $17 doesn't sound like a lot. We're talking less than $2.
But you have to look at the mechanism of scale here.
Right.
When you multiply a $1.80 increase by 11,500 total yards of material, That is a sudden, unexpected hit of over $20,000 to the public works budget.
Wow, over 20 grand just from a tiny price bump.
This is how macroeconomic inflation brutally impacts local municipalities. You cannot petition away the rising cost of diesel fuel, labor, or raw materials.
The town still has to buy actual things in a market where prices are skyrocketing.
Exactly, which explains why towns fight so hard to keep a healthy, unassigned surplus buffer.
Because if inflation drives up the cost of every single line item from road salt to paper clips, how do you continue to provide services without constantly raising that tax levy?
You have to get creative.
Speaking of creative, I was looking at the Recreation Department section of the packet, trying to see where they might be cutting costs, and I found this memorandum of understanding about a shared 12-passenger van.
Oh, this is a great example.
Belgrade wanted transportation for recreation programs and senior services, but buying a massive passenger van is incredibly expensive.
So instead of buying one, they basically hacked the system.
How so?
Belgrade teamed up with the neighboring town of Oakland. A local dealership, Central Maine Motors, actually donated the use of a 2026 Ford Transit van to both communities.
Wait, they just donated it?
Yeah. And so they draw up this formal agreement. Oakland agrees to maintain the insurance coverage. Belgrade reimburses them for half the annual cost, and they split all the maintenance and repair costs 50-50.
Okay, so they get a donated van to save money, and they split the insurance. That's smart. But vans don't drive themselves.
No, they do not.
Who is on the payroll for this? I'm looking at page 22 of this memorandum. Wait, they have someone named Kristen McDowell listed explicitly as the, quote, unpaid van driver.
Yep.
Is this a typo? This multi-million-dollar municipal operation is relying on a citizen just volunteering to drive a 12-passenger van for free.
It is not a typo. And it is the perfect illustration of why expenditures in areas like recreation sometimes come in under budget in that audit we discussed earlier.
Because they're just getting people to do it for free.
Basically, it's not always a brilliant accounting maneuver. Often, it's because town officials are negotiating shared use memorandums, securing donated leases, and relying entirely on citizens who are willing to drive a van full of seniors for $0 an hour just to help their community function.
I mean, it takes a very specific kind of person to offer up their time like that.
It really does.
Which brings a critical question to mind. Who are the people actually running this multi-million-dollar operation? Because to manage these rising daily costs of winter sand, to negotiate shared insurance on donated vans, and to parse complex legal documents from corporate attorneys, a town needs serious expertise.
And they can't afford to hire a massive corporate staff.
Right. And the agenda packet lists numerous committee appointments, and it reveals that local governance is entirely dependent on residents stepping up to offer professional-grade skills for free.
Yeah, let's look at the Budget Committee applications because they are fascinating.
Yes. 2 applications for the Budget Committee stand out in stark contrast. The first is Anthony Wilson, who's moving from an alternate to a full member position.
Right, and look at his resume.
It's insane. He brings 19 years of municipal government experience. He has a master's in public administration. He's a certified Maine town manager, and he was the former chair of the town's comprehensive plan committee.
That is heavy-hitting expertise.
And under why he wants to serve, he explicitly writes that he wants to help reduce the tax levy, and he notes that he previously caught a significant calculation mistake just prior to a town meeting.
He is bringing highly specialized, auditor-level skills to a volunteer town committee. I mean, without him, that calculation mistake likely makes it to a public vote.
And then, right next to Anthony's application, you have Bruce Galuch, who is renewing his seat on the Budget Committee for another 3 years.
And his application is quite different.
Yeah, under place of employment, Bruce simply writes, Bob the plumber.
I love that.
He notes he has 1 year of college, but he has 30 years of running a successful business. Under why he wishes to serve, he wrote, to help serve my community and help with managing cost.
So good.
You have a guy who probably dreams in spreadsheets sitting right next to a guy who knows exactly how much a PVC pipe should actually cost in the real world.
And you desperately need both.
Yep.
This is the fragile ecosystem of local government. It relies entirely on the diverse, unpaid expertise of its residents.
You really do need that balance.
You do. You need the person with the master's in public administration to understand the nuances of the $8.1 million fund balance and the legal mechanisms of state statutes.
Right, to deal with the lawyers.
But you equally need the 30-year plumber to look at a $72,000 truck quote or facilities repair bid and say, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense. We can fix that for half the price.
Because without citizens stepping up to scrutinize a spreadsheet or understand the practical cost of a repair or, drive a recreation van for free, the whole system just grinds to a halt.
It really is a delicate balance.
It is. We started this deep dive looking at what seemed to be a dry, standard audit presentation. But when you pull back the layers, you find this incredibly dynamic web of tension.
Oh, absolutely.
You have the $8.1 million illusion that sparks a taxpayer revolt. You have 276 citizens colliding head-on with Title 30A of the Maine state law because local democracy is legally capped by state authority.
The Dillon's Rule reality.
Yeah. And then you have the relentless creeping cost of winter sand driving up the budget.
Yeah.
And holding it all together, you have volunteers, plumbers, former town managers, unpaid drivers trying to make sense of the math and keep the town moving forward.
It requires a constant balancing act of accounting, legal navigation, practical necessity, and immense community service. And the thing is, this exact dynamic plays out in town halls across the country every single month.
It does. But as the cost of running a town continues to rise, whether it's the price tag on an F-350 truck or an extra $1.80 for a yard of winter sand, and as the legal red tape required to navigate citizen petitions grows thicker, one has to wonder.
Yeah.
How much longer can small towns rely on this traditional volunteer-driven model of local government before they are forced to completely rethink how communities are managed? Is the era of the small town budget committee coming to an end?
It is a critical question for the future of our communities as they face increasingly complex financial and legal hurdles.
We want to thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Stay curious, and the next time you drive past a town hall, remember there's a multi-million-dollar engine running inside, driven entirely by your neighbors. Until next time.